New York Times with an editorial about dark money and how the IRS has given up on trying to track it. That is so sad. And it's for the exact reason that I've been telling you for quite some time now. So let me go to the editorial here, because I think the New York Times did a fantastic job in being brave enough to call out the actions of the government for what they are. Now remember, this is the Obama administration's IRS. They say the federal government has all but surrendered to the powerful, rich donors whose anonymous contributions threatened to undermine the 2016 elections. The Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service, John Koskinen, signaled as much on Thursday when he told a House committee there would be no change in the tax code in 2016 to end its growing abuse by political operatives using nonprofit social welfare institutions to disguise identities of affluent campaign contributors. So let me explain to you how this works. Karl Rove will set up two different organizations. One will be clearly political, and the other one will pretend to be a social welfare organization. Now, when you set up a social welfare, a nonprofit organization, its primary goal is supposed to be to bring about that social welfare. Now, whatever that happens to be, feeding the poor. Republicans feeding the poor. Karl Rove feeding the poor. That's a good one. No. They claim it's for some purpose or another. Sometimes the Koch brothers will say, oh, it's for health care, while they're trying to destroy health care, and it's all political. But according to the IRS, this is not true. That's not how the law is written. The law says it has to be primarily for the mission you said that it was. Now, you could have some incidental costs, a stapler here and a poster there, that are not necessarily going directly to that cost. But the IRS, in their incredible cowardice, because they don't want to offend the dark money that's going to both parties, but especially the Republican Party, because they'll get called liberal, right, says, okay, as long as you're doing 51% non-political activities, actual social welfare activities, things where you're actually trying to help other people, we'll call the other 49% as part of your mission overall, even if it's completely and deeply political. That's not in the law. They did that. It is a huge benefit to the rich that are pouring in this dark money that now we can't track because they're using these organizations. So now more details from the New York Times. The IRS has been increasingly timorous on this issue ever since House Republicans opened partisan hearings into complaints that IRS officials have been biased against conservative political groups that claim tax exemptions as nonprofit social welfare groups. I told you that's what the whole so-called IRS scandal was about. And it turns out that's exactly what it's about. There was no scandal. It was shown over and over again. The IRS actually looked into liberal groups as much as conservative groups. In fact, they took action against liberal groups more than they did against conservative groups. But it doesn't matter. The Republicans screamed and screamed, oh, the IRS is liberal, the IRS is targeting conservatives. And then Fox News talking about it 24/7. And what did the IRS do? They do what, oftentimes happens in the Democratic Party, and in this case in the government, also happens with government officials quite often, with bureaucracies. Oh my God, don't hit me again, don't hit me, I'm so sorry. Here, do whatever you want with dark money. Who cares? 49%, and by the way, of the 49% and 51%, I'm not even figuring that out. I don't have time, I give up. That's what this New York Times editorial is about. How they have given up en masse, saying you do whatever the hell you want. At best case scenario, they will investigate in 2017. I got news for you. That's a year after the election. In other words, open season. There is no end to this. Dark money, as far as I can see. Let me give you two more from the quotes from the New York Times, because they are really great in this editorial. They say Citizens United decision in 2010 that ended the limits on campaign spending by corporations and unions. Now, since 2006, when only $5.2 million was spent by exempt organizations that do not disclose donors, spending increased 60-fold to more than $300 million in 2012 presidential cycle, according to the Center for Responsive Politics. An even bigger infusion expected in 2016 from big money donors shielded by the social welfare fiction. They're not social welfare groups. New York Times is calling out it's a fiction. They've already increased it 60-fold since Citizens United, and they're going to increase it even more. Wolf-pack.com. If you don't get the money out of politics, look at what they're doing. They're pouring it in by the buckets, by the millions, the hundreds of millions of dollars. The IRS is throwing up their hands going, I'm so scared of conservatives. I'm not even going to look to see where the money is coming from, whether they're actually using it for social welfare purposes or they're using it completely for politics. I don't care. I'm going to run for the hills. They've swamped politics with money. They bought all of our politicians. This is the Obama administration. Remember the guy with the placards that said change? What change? What change? And by the way, I asked that of all the people running, both on the Republican and Democratic side this year. What are you going to do to get money out of politics? You can tell me all you want, and this applies to everybody across the board. Oh, yeah, I'd like to get money out of politics. So some even say, oh, I'd like to get an amendment to get money out of politics. Yes, but what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do to get that amendment? If you say, I kind of like it, well, that sounds like Obama. And then later Obama says, oh, yeah, change. Fuck it, I didn't mean change. No, you do whatever the hell you want. Pour in the dark money. It doesn't matter. I got a ton of money, too, and I won, and I love this system. I'm not going to change this system. His placards should have said, stay the same. I love this system. It made me president and incredibly rich and powerful. So for all the new candidates, spamming the lip service, what are you going to do about it? Okay, what are you going to do to the IRS? What are you going to do to get the amendment passed to get money out of politics? Wolf-pack.com. We're doing something about it. We're mounting up. And we got warriors out there fighting the fight. We've already got it passed in 4 states. We're going to pass it in a hell of a lot more than that. Finally, the New York Times ends their editorial by saying, it is a gross insult to taxpayers to make them underwrite the brazen evasions of campaign operatives bundling dark money. The abuse is compounded by the latest IRS retreat from its responsibility. And by the way, look at that. Even if you're a conservative or you're a libertarian, do you like taxpayers being abused? This is all done off our back, okay? It's the rich and the powerful that are buying the politicians and using the IRS to their advantage and screwing over the regular American taxpayers. That's why we do have conservatives and libertarians also inside Wolfpack. I happen to be progressive. There are people in the organization who are progressive, but there are people from all across the country who believe in this because 96% of Americans have had it up to here. They're sick of it. They know it's bullshit, and they know that these are legalized bribes, and there's nothing anybody in Washington is doing about it. So screw Washington. We're going to go around Washington. We're going to go to the states. We're going to go to the states one by one until they call for a convention to get an amendment. Otherwise, it's hopeless. Look at this. You put your hope into Obama changing the system, and Obama just put up the white flag saying, no, I'm too scared. I'm too scared. I don't ever want to change the system. Well, we got a different idea. Whether Washington likes it or not, we're going to change. Are you a warrior enough? Are you going to sit on your couch, or are you going to get up right now and fight back against this and win? We've already won in 4 states. We're going to win in 30 others, and we're going to get that convention. Are you willing to fight for democracy? Are you willing to be what is in essence a founding father again to get back our democracy, which has been lost to the elite and the powerful here? Well, I'm not in the business of white flags. I'm not in the business of surrender. So hell yeah, we'll fight back. Come join us. Do whatever you can. Become a member. Become a volunteer. But get up and fight. Wolf-pack.com.